And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brendan D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. You can also rate the podcast and view the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. It would also be greatly appreciated. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles today. We're going to do a stay or go edition for all the Eagles free agents. We're going to go through the positions that these free agents are, see if there's any outstanding or upcoming free agents that the Eagles can't sign to replace these guys, what the market value will be for these guys. Just kind of give you the details on what to expect over the next couple of weeks in free agency. No one else to do it with, than my friend Thomas Petersen. What's going on?
What's going on, Brandon?
Not
Like we talked about, it's been a quiet offseason so far.
A lot going on. What do you think? I think the reasoning is behind the Jalen Hurts extension. I'm assuming they all hands on deck for that.
Yeah, probably all hands on deck. And probably the reason it hasn't been done yet is that Jalen Hurts camp is kind of waiting it out a little bit to see both what the Daniel Jones contract was going to be, but also to kind of like see what goes on with the whole Lamar Jackson situation there. All the speculations about all this fully guaranteed regime for quarterbacks here. I don't think that's going to be what Jalen Hurts is going to be looking for, but I think they'd like to see a little bit where the chip's going to be falling because, like, Jalen Hurts has the entire upper hand in every single part of the contract negotiation.
Agreed.
Like, Eagles have zero leverage.
Yeah, I agree. He's got all leverage. I just noticed we're both. Is that a black T-shirt? Are we rocking black T-shirt squad on this one?
Yeah, I got the Stoutland University.
Let's go. Where'd you get that shirt? That's a cool shirt.
Eagles Pro Shop when I was in Philly.
Interesting. That's a nice one. All right.
Thank you.
So this is going to be a little bit of a depressing episode for Eagles fans because on the list, I've only got 3 stays of the free agents that I think are going to come back. I don't know if Thomas's opinions are going to be different, but let's do it.
We'll see.
Let's start with, I guess, the big one that fans are talking about that everyone kind of wants to know what's going on. The fan favorite Eagle safety, CJ Garner Johnson. Give me your opinion on CJ Garner Johnson right now if he's going to stay or go.
Right. So I think CJ is going to be testing the market. I think that's why we haven't heard anything about any negotiations. Actually, we haven't heard too much. Only I think Brandon Graham was the only one who kind of touched on that. The Eagles are trying to work out a way to bring him back. That would make sense. But that all comes down to where Chauncey views himself in terms of, like, he's had one season now at safety in the NFL. Then before that, it goes all the way back to when he was with Florida. So is he banking on that he can convince an NFL team that he is a top 5 safety in the NFL now after this one season here? If he can't do that, he can get into that Marcus Williams range of making around these 14, 15, 16, 17 million per year. I think that's just going to be out of the range of what the Eagles can offer. I think if it's going to be down there in that 12 and a half, 13 range, I think that's going to be the maximum for the Eagles. So I think he's going to test out free agencies, see what the offers are going to be out there. And Eagles, I definitely think they're going to be tapping into like keep in touch on what's going on, what's being said, or like have some information from his agent. But ultimately, I think he's going to go.
I am leaning go. I that's what I have here on my notes. It's not what I would have said a couple weeks ago. I thought when the season ended that they would come to an agreement with CJ Garner Johnson. The way the tides have turned, it doesn't look like he is going to be coming back. Did you see his most recent tweet? He quote tweeted, I believe it was an ESPN segment with Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark was saying that the Eagles should be making CJ Garner Johnson a priority. And I think he quote tweeted saying respect with like a salute, one of those, like a salute emoji.
Right.
And he, and I guess he was just reacting to what Ryan Clark said, that the Eagles should be making a priority. I was looking at the safety contract market and where he could possibly land. And I didn't realize how expensive safeties can get and how many are signed at the top of the market. Kind of caught me by surprise last week when I was doing some digging on what he could get paid. The highest paid safety right now in the NFL is Derwin James. He makes he makes just $19 million a year, just over a little bit, I believe.
Yeah.
The next one is Minkah Fitzpatrick at $18.2 million. Jamal Adams at 17.5, Harrison Smith at 60 million, Justin Simmons at 15.25. I wouldn't pay CJ Garner Johnson any of those contracts. I really like CJ Garner Johnson as a player. I think he was great in the 1 year he was here. He's got that kind of locker room vibe that players will like. He was physical. He, again, had like tied for the league in interceptions, I believe, and he missed some games. Great player.
Versatile player. Yeah.
The Eagles can't afford that. The Eagles can't afford to be paying a safety $15 million.
No.
Now, there is a second wave of free agent or safety contracts that I think they would be willing to maybe talk about. So Quandre Diggs is an example. He was paid last offseason by the Seahawks. He was re-signed for $13 million a year. I could see them potentially getting that high of a number, 13, 12.5, 12. Maybe the Eagles, once CJ Garner Johnson tests the market, sees what's out there, and realizes, hey, I'm not going to get top 5 safety money. I think he could come back and they could start negotiations again, kind of in that range. But as it stands right now, unfortunately, I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's just going to be too much. But the reason for paying a guy like CJ would be that you can project that he's going to get better.
That's the only.
That would be the reason to pay him.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes we get caught up in a successful season and all the emotions with it, and kind of get tied up to players. And that may very well be the case here. And I think for the Eagles as well, they're going to look at this kind of like logically say, this one season, do we really think this guy is going to be a top 5 safety? And if you're going to invest top 5 safety money in him, you're really strapping yourself tightly in all other aspects of free agency and trying to fill out a roster. So, yeah, ultimately, I think he's going to go as well. But I think they will, like I said, they will keep an eye in there. And if his market doesn't go as he projects and as he wants, don't rule out that they'll make a late push for him.
Are there any safeties on the market that catch your eye that could potentially replace them? I have a few. I don't think they're going to tap into, there's one guy that I think they could reach out to once he does get released, and that's Garner Johnson. He's a safety from Browns. He's going to be getting cut most likely over the next day or two.
Exactly.
They had interest in him, I believe, when he was previously in free agency before he signed with the Browns. He's more of a cap casualty. He was a disappointment, I guess, for Cleveland since he signed there. You could probably say that, but I still think he's a player
to live up to his contract.
Yeah, I still think they can get him on a cheaper deal. They're going to like him, and that's a name I'd watch out for. I have a couple other ones just from doing some digging on Spot Rack. By the way, Spot Rack, your website was very slow today when I was doing prep. Not the day to be slow, Spot Rack. Come on. You know the Double Doink podcast is recording. Anyways, love you, Spot Rack, though, still. Very helpful website. Anyways, Juan Thornhill from the Chiefs, Adrian Amos, Nasir Adderley, and Jonathan Owens, Simone Biles' new husband. From the Houston Texans. I think those are a couple names. I think if they're going to go safety, I don't think they go the veteran route. Like Garner Johnson, I guess, is a quote-unquote veteran. He's still young. But I think they would probably try to sign a younger piece there. I don't see them going after like a Jordan Poyer or a Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates is still 26. But I think
there's also I was sorry for cutting you off there. Tashawn Gibson was with Desai in Chicago. So that will be a natural fit. But he's not. He's getting up there in age. Like he'll be the stopgap guy. Like that'll be your veteran signing that has experience in the defense and that you can. I mean, if everything else fails, can come in there and can be serviceable in the back end. But yeah, Garner Johnson, like you said, he would be a guy who could plug in there as well for sure. I think Adrian Amos. Also, a guy to keep an eye out. The positive thing with Garner Johnson is that he wouldn't count against the compensatory pick formula that the Eagles are going to be paying a lot of attention to because, they could get 4 third, fourth picks in next year's draft.
Yeah. So the one thing with the compensatory picks I want to bring up is they can only get a max of 4, so you can't get more than that. So the Eagles have so many free agents where they can still spend and get 4 picks back. Right, they can still go get some big ticket guys or 1 big ticket guy. So I think 1's probably the max with this team, and I would consider Garner Johnson a big ticket guy, anyways. But just I would push back a little bit on fans saying every signing they're not going to do because of the picks. they only can get max 4. They have so many free agents. They're aware of that. So they're. I brought this up to you before the episode. I truly believe that they're going to be more active than teams than people think. Maybe not right out the gate, but this is going to be a heavily active team in the second wave of free agency.
Yeah,
where
definitely.
I think a lot of these guys that I'm going to list are going to be there. Okay.
John Johnson's also a guy that you can get for a 1 year deal. Like, we know they love to hand out these 1 year deals to veteran guys. I mean, he's not going to be looking at more than 5-6 million on a 1 year deal.
Mm-hmm. One more thing on CJ Garner Johnson. His spot rack market value is $13.3 million.
Yeah, and that's where I'll put him as well. But like I said, if he's probably going to want to try to get more with the cap going up and with the season that he's had right now, leading the league in tying the league lead in interceptions, it makes sense for him to try to cash out on more than that.
Okay, next on the list, the other big free agent, which I think is getting a little interesting, Javon Hargreaves. One of the better free agent signings that Howie has done in his career in Philadelphia. Great signing in 2020. Played unreal last year. He was the best interior pass rusher. Thomas, I don't know if you know this, but I was when I was doing this exercise and preparing for it, the two sack leaders in free agency from the interior are Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargreaves. So the Eagles' interior pass rushers are the highest on teams' boards when it comes to interior pass rush. So I don't think both are coming back. We'll discuss it. Javon Hargreaves, where are you leaning? Stay or go?
I'm leaning go simply because of if he's going to be looking at that max pass rush package for defensive tackles, I mean, it's so all over the place when you hear different insiders talk about Javon Hargreaves, what his market deal is going to be. Like, there's somebody who views him strictly as a pass rusher and a liability in the run game. I don't think it's that bad. And you look at the age as well. Like, he could range anywhere from 12 to 18.5 million.
Spot Rack has his value at $20.1 million.
Right. And I think PFF has him at 18.3. And I think NFL.com had projected him around 13.5. So it's kind of all over the place. With Hargreaves.
You just need one team, right?
You need one team. And one team is going to want a pass rushing defensive tackle. So that's... Yeah, I think his margin is going to be really strong. Also, Deron Payne got tacked, so obviously he's out of that running. So really, he's the standalone guy in the defensive tackle market there. I think he's going to go.
Would you pay him $15 million over 3 years?
No. So that's the other conversation. Mm-hmm. Is that do you believe at this point that he is a guy do you want to put such a high percentage of the Eagles' cap into a 30-year-old defensive tackle that who knows if he's going to carry the same value moving forward? We don't that's not a guarantee. If they extended him and paid him, let's say $17 million per year, and he has a bad next season, we're going to look at this and it's going to look really bad, and you're going to be tied to him for several more years on the contract like that, and you're going to have to swallow up a ton of debt cap instead of actually getting younger on the interior on the defensive line. The transition has been made on the edges. We're going to be talking about Brandon Graham a little bit later here, but Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, you got youth on the edges now, but in the middle, Jordan Davis, we'll see. We don't know about that. Milton Williams, yep, promising guy for sure, but kind of need to get those guys up to speed, and that transition is not going to be made by paying a guy $18 million in the middle.
So you wouldn't pay? I said $15 million because I feel my gut feeling right now is that they are prioritizing Javon Hargreaves over CJ Garner Johnson. They believe in
I think if they were to choose one of them, I think they would go Javon Hargreaves as well. But I don't think any of those guys are coming back.
I have go listed here. I am not completely ruling it out. I think this is a kind of similar to CJ Garner Johnson, where if he tests the market and the market's not fully there, he could come back. He likes Philly. He loves it here. He tweeted I don't know if you saw one more week to go with it was I'm trying to think of the right word, cringe, not cringe, squinting, he had the big teeth emoji. it's hard to read what the hell he's talking about through emojis, but
Yeah.
to me, the tweet kind of read a little bit like, maybe I would like to come back. The talks aren't going so well. I don't know who the fuck really knows what he in the tweet he meant, but I wouldn't rule it out. Like I think again,
you can never rule it out. It would be such an Eagles move to pay a defensive tackle.
So that's where I want to transition this conversation because I think defensive tackle is the most interesting position for the Eagles in free agency. When you just take a look at their depth chart, they have Milton Williams and Jordan Davis. Am I missing anyone? I didn't look at the depth chart. I'm pretty sure that's the only two defensive tackles that they have signed for next year.
Marlon Tuipulotu.
Marlon Tuipulotu. Yeah, he ended up on the IR towards the end of the season, right? Like,
yeah,
he might not even make the team next year. Two guys that are going to make the team next year are Jordan Davis and Milton Williams.
Yeah. So
they need to add at least one, probably two, that they think can make the team. So historically, we saw it with Javon Hargrave. 3 years ago, Howie Roseman opened up the checkbook and paid Javon Hargrave $13 million per season in his first contract there. I would not be shocked if that's the route that Howie Roseman decides to take and spend his money this free agency. Now, like we just said, Javon Hargrave is going to cost a lot more than $13 million per season. But I firmly believe that defensive tackle, and there's one other position that we'll get into, that they could pay a big ticket free agent. I think defensive tackle is the place to go.
I get it, and you also you want to bring back your own guys and all this kind of thing. It's just if you want to, if they're going to be investing in defensive tackle that heavily, like if we're looking at 18 million, that range.
No, not 18. I'm not talking $18 million per season.
Let's just go
12 million range is probably they're gonna have one big ticket
right.
free agent.
If you just zoom out a little bit in turn, why wouldn't you pay Draymond Jones instead? Like he's 26 years.
That's where I'm going with this. I think they're going to look for the next Javon Hargrave.
Exactly.
Like the guy that they signed in 2020. Hargrave, I think, was 27 years old when they paid him the $13 million per season, which was in his prime of his career. That's where I think they're going to aim. Now, Draymond Jones, I do believe is going to be paid like close to Hargrave, kind of the 18 million. He's going to get a ton of dough. The one guy that I really think that they're going to like and that I believe matches the Eagles perfectly is Zach Allen from Arizona. Zach Allen is 25 years old. He had 9.5 sacks over the last 2 years, three fumble recoveries. He was very productive. I believe he had 95 tackles over the 2-year stretch. Very good run defender. The one thing is with him, it will be a scheme change because he hasn't really rushed the interior. Is more of kind of playing on the outside when he rushed the passer, but he played inside on rundowns. So, but Javon Hargrave also, I believe, I could be wrong here, he had to have a scheme change, right? When he came in 2020, he was kind of similar body type and profile. Zach Allen is going to be pricey though. So I think if they could get him in that 12 to 13, $14 million range, that they would bite. So that's a guy I would 100% watch. I believe that how he's going to spend somewhere, defensive tackle is one of the positions, and Zach Allen fits that profile.
He does, and if they're looking at that veteran kind of guy to come in and take snaps while you're transitioning a little bit more, and you want to go in a more of a like cheaper route, like a David Onyemata, who they were also close to signing back when they actually ended up signing Javon Hargrave. Like they were in conversations with Onyemata back then as well. Also more of the pass rush kind of guy. Like he's in that same age category. He's played high level in 2020 and 2021. Has played, I think, 500 plus snaps in each season, the past 3 seasons. So again, a guy,
he's a little.
It's the same with Javon Hargrave.
No, I agree. But I think they're going to, like, if you're going for a cheaper route, you mean?
Right. I mean, it just mean if you want to go like a stopgap veteran who has some pass rushing ability, I mean, why not pay less and then have more cap flexibility while adding a guy you can put in there instead of like, I just think it's such a heavy investment.
For Hargrave, you mean?
For Hargrave. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I agree. Like, again, I don't think it's out of the question, but like, I do believe they're probably not going to pay the third-year-old defense tackle a ton of money. David Onyemata had 11 quarterback hits this year. That was third in the free agent tackle class behind Fletcher Cox.
That's also the only reason he's going to be available. Like he was one of the I think he was a top 10 defensive tackle from PFF in 2020 and 21. So I mean, that's the reason that you can get him on a cheaper deal.
Yeah. A couple other guys I have listed here besides Zach Allen. Draymond Jones is one, but I think he's going to be priced out. Poona Ford is a guy I would definitely keep an eye out for. The thing is, he doesn't have the best pass rush productivity, but I do believe he kind of fits nicely beside a Jordan Davis. And I have Sheldon Rankins here on my list. I feel like if they're gonna go veteran route, that's a name that you could keep an eye on. But again, this is kind of a higher tier defensive tackle free agency with Draymond Jones, Zach Allen, Javon Hargrave. So this is a position that I also would watch out for in the draft in the first 2 rounds if there's a guy that they do like as well. But that's a conversation that's of course down the road. But they're gonna have to fill this spot. This is gonna be a position of need this offseason and a position that High Rosen's gonna have to attack.
Yep, absolutely. They're like you said, they're so thin right now. So yeah, that absolutely has to be a priority.
Fletcher
and
Cox.
Looking at the draft as well. I mean, they're gonna invest in the draft as well at that position.
Yeah. Fletcher Cox. Let's just do the defensive tackles. You think he's gone?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm kind of leaning he has a shot to stay if he takes a hometown discount. Like if he's willing to go $5-6 million. But the thing is the guys his profile can get upwards of $8 or $9 million per season. So like if he just wants cash, if he just wants money, which I don't blame him for, like more power to you, then he's gone. But if like he's willing to take a $4, $5, $6 million deal, then he could stick around. But he's an interesting one. Like I'm curious because he's a Howie guy, right? Like this is a dude that's been in the building for a decade. So like how do they handle this? And we know Howie going back to the 2017 season, like they re-upped a lot of those dudes. He has like kind of sentimental value to a lot of his guys. So how he handles Fletcher Cox is going to be really interesting. But most likely,
I think this is going to be the end of the swan song. I think it's going to be done from here.
Okay, next let's do the other safety. Marcus Epps, a weird one. What do you think the Eagles?
A weird one as well. I mean, if the report is true that he's going to have a lot of interest around the league because of what they say he was a hard-hitting safety.
It's my coworker had that tweet.
Ah, right. Okay. Cool. Yeah, then he's gone. I don't think Eagles are going to go into a bidding war over Marcus Epps.
I think he's gone. I don't see a chance he's coming back. I wouldn't pay him. I would look for an upgrade at that position.
Yeah,
Marcus Epps was fine, but I think
if they're not going to get Garner Johnson, they're like we can pretty much say that like if Epps and Chauncey are gone, they're going to be looking for someone in that tier in between the Epps and the Chauncey.
Yeah,
and they'll probably have Reed playing chip starting.
And Epps is like again, I just going back to the upgrade point. That's a position you can't upgrade at. Like Epps was, in my opinion, a below bottom tier starting safety in the NFL. He played a lot of snaps, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. Like he stayed healthy for you, and he played a ton of snaps. But I think you can get better. I think you can get better contribution at that position.
Absolutely,
than Epps.
Agree.
Okay, let's stick on the defense. James Bradberry.
I think Bradberry is going to be interesting. I don't think he's going to be as expensive as people think.
Okay, so what do you mean people think? What do you think the value is on James Bradberry?
So when we're throwing out all the stats of the last season of how he was essentially, if not Sauce, then Bradberry was the most efficient defender, like one of the most targeted cornerbacks in the league, while also allowing the lowest passer rating in the league. But I think that his years with the Giants leading up to it, like there's no special years in that. Maybe one where he had a Pro Bowl season, but when you compare all of his seasons leading up to the one with the Eagles, and where you like, do you look at the pass rush and say, they made everybody great in the secondary? They made everybody look really, really good. Our team's going to be more, like a little bit holding back on really paying out for him? Because if you just look at the numbers, and it's a cornerback, like one of the most expensive positions in the NFL, like you'd expect him to make like a ton of money, like 15 plus. But I don't think it's going to reach 15 per year.
His market value on spot right now is $13.1 million.
Right, that makes sense.
I don't think Bradberry has any chance of coming back.
No, I think it's going to be the same with Chauncey. Like they're going to be in touch with his agent, and if his market isn't like, a lot of these guys, like they're coming off a Super Bowl team. So they have all momentum going for each and every one of them. Like every one of them have looked great in moments in this season. But if their market isn't what they thought, I think Eagles are going to be really tapped in on what's going to be going on in that. But again, it's a guy I think is gone. I don't think they're going to be paying.
I think a team's going to give him like a 3-year deal worth like $12 to $15 million a season. He's going to go cash in. This is probably his last big contract.
Yeah.
He had a hell of a year here. He was awesome. 1-year stopgap, fell right into Howie's lap. Hats off to Howie for kind of waiting patiently for that position, and it kind of all worked out. One thing that really worries me about the 2023 Eagles is the health at the cornerback position. Darius Slay and James Bradberry started all 17 games for this team. That doesn't happen very often. So they're going to have to get depth here. Like that's not going to happen again. Like the odds are that someone like is going to get hurt, Darius Slay or whoever's starting on the other side, and they're going to need to have someone to step up. Is that one of the rookie cornerbacks that they have on the roster? And a Josh Jobe, a Zach McPherson? I
probably not.
Yeah, so they're going to have to infuse that position with young talent and infuse that with a lot of guys. And the secondary has been such a revolving door for this team, especially at the cornerback position. They swung and missed on so many draft picks. They've tried bringing in guys in like later drafts. Raswell Douglas is an example, like Sidney Jones. It just hasn't worked out. This is a year that I'm not saying fix the position. I don't think they're going to be in a rush to go sign like James Bradberry's replacement, if that makes sense. Like, I think they can be patient there. I do think that if they're going to sign someone, it's more of like, we need a young dude in here who can replace Darius Slay and take over to be the next Slay. So we have some stability here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of guys that I do really like if they're going to, and I've said there's two positions that they could spend money on. Defensive tackle was the first one, and cornerback is the second one. Mm-hmm. I would keep a hard eye on a Byron Murphy at Arizona as well. He is priced.
My notes.
So, is that what you have as well?
Yeah, I have Byron Murphy as well.
I think he is like the Howie Roseman target. Now, Tom Pelissero had an article out today that said I think he was upwards of $16 million per season potentially, which would, I think, price them out. But Byron Murphy is like, I think he's 25. Is he 24? I think he might even be 24. Is he 25 years old?
25.
25 years old. Like really young, was productive. He's talented. He's an athletic freak. Darius Slay, I could be wrong on this, but I think Darius Slay had he ranked his cornerbacks and in a podcast or something, young cornerbacks in the NFL, and had Byron Murphy on that list. And let
me double check that.
Yeah. So Darius Slay apparently likes him. It's funny that I'm just thinking this now. Isn't it kind of funny that the two guys I just named are Arizona Cardinals? Like they're going to let these two young talented guys out the door, and Zach Allen and Byron Murphy, for a team that has no young talent, but that's a conversation for another day.
Eagles are gonna be putting themselves in a position where I think you're right. I think they're gonna be going for a guy who is absolutely gonna be starting opposite of Slay, and if they can cash in on a big draft pick, I think if they're there at 10 and a Christian Gonzalez or Devon Witherspoon fall to him, I think they're absolutely going to be drafting one of those guys as a replacement for Darius Slay moving forward to actually kind of have some talent, some top tier talent at that position. But they're not going to be going into the draft having that need. Like they're not going to be wanting to go for a cornerback that they have to be starting. And with Darius Slay, I think he's going to be entering the last year of his contract, right?
Well, they're going to restructure him to free up some money, so I think he's locked in for 2 more seasons. That's kind of the way it's going to look once the restructure goes through, because they need to free up cap space. I think him and Lane Johnson are the only two guys that they can really realistically free up money for.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to double check that. Let me pull up the Eagles cap situation right now.
Because that's going to be a little bit of an interesting thing here. Like, how are you going to be approaching that second cornerback spot?
So they can restructure Darius Slay to free up $12.2 million. They can restructure Lane Johnson to free up $10.5 million. If they restructure Darius Slay to free up $12.2 million, he's back for 2024.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think Darius Slay's fine for another 2 years, unless he falls off a complete cliff this year, which I don't think is going to happen. He's a talented dude. He's 32. He's getting up there in age, but he's still got juice left in the tank. I think he's fine for 2 years. But like Byron Murphy and another guy, Cameron Sutton from Pittsburgh, he's 28 years old. He's a little older than Byron Murphy, but he played a ton of snaps for Pittsburgh last year. He's also going to probably be a very he's going to be a hot commodity story in free agency. Those are the two cornerbacks that I keep an eye on. But like you just said, I think they're going to be patient here. Like if they can't cash in on a Byron Murphy or Cameron Sutton, like a younger dude, I think they're just going to wait the market out and see how it plays out. And we know they're comfortable going into the draft without a starting cornerback. They did it last year. They did the exact same thing.
The exact same thing. But it would be very much like the Eagles to go in like to sign a cornerback and then just go into the draft and pick whatever big guys they can get for the defensive line.
Yeah, that's what's probably going to happen. But is there any veteran corner? I couldn't really find a veteran cornerback I liked in free agency for this team. Like the veteran cornerback market, in my opinion, was pretty lame. Like there's Marcus Peters.
Yeah. I think Marcus Petersen. I think Shaq Griffin, maybe a guy that you could put in for a 1-year deal. He just got released by the Jaguars. He's got to be looking at like those bounce back season kind of guys that need to come out in 1-year deals and prove themselves afterwards. He's a guy that you could plug and play. Like he can be a starting cornerback for the Eagles.
Yeah, Patrick Peterson's a guy that I watch out for maybe in like May. Yeah, but like he's like again like this is the dude like after the draft. Like if he's still sticking around, like they need a stopgap. I could see Patrick Peterson potentially. Like there's not a lot going on in the veteran cornerback market. The guys that I think the Eagles could pounce on, but
no,
yeah. I think
about Eli Apple?
We're gonna. Oh, I forgot to say this with the safeties with CJ Garner Johnson, Marcus Epps, a guy that like I really think had a shot to be who I think Howie might like.
I know what you're gonna be saying.
Julian Love from the Giants.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go Jimmy Ward.
No, not Jimmy. Jimmy Ward's also another one. But like
they'll be fighting in practice all day.
Yeah. I don't think Julian Love is coming back. It's coming to Philly after all those comments on that radio station wherever he talked with the Eagles. But he's not even 25 years old yet. He played over 1,000 snaps for the Giants. He feels like a dude that the Eagles might like, but I don't know if that's going to happen after all those comments. But I was laughing to myself, like when I was going through all the phrases, I'm like, this seems like a Howie Roseman signing, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Okay, that is cornerback. I think we've touched on. Okay, let's finish off the defense with Brandon Graham. We have linebackers as well. We have linebacker. Let's do linebacker. Let's go linebackers here. We'll combine them both. Kaiser White and TJ Edwards. We're getting my first stay here. Which one will it be?
Mine as well.
I am going Kaiser White stay.
Oh, we have a stay off.
The reason I say that is because I don't think the Eagles are going to want TJ Edwards and Kaiser White to leave the building. They're going to want at least one of those guys to stick around with Kobe Dean, like to bring in a whole new linebacker crew from one season to another. I think is something that the Eagles are not going to want to do. They're going to want a veteran beside Kobe Dean. This is not me saying I'm a huge Kaiser White fan. I think he played fine last year. I think he kind of trailed off towards the end. His play really slipped as the season went on. I think he got off to a hot start. I don't think Kaiser White is going to have a big market. His spot rack market evaluation right now is at $8.1 million. I don't see that whatsoever. I could see him being in the $3, $4, $5 million range. And I could see Kaiser White being like a signing at the end of March, maybe middle of April, if he's still hanging around. The Eagles could bring back. But I'm like this is a 50-50, like stay or go. I would lean the stay on a Kaiser White. I do think he's going to be back, and I just don't think TJ Edwards is going to be back just due to the fact that he's going to get paid.
Okay, so I'm going to say TJ Edwards stay. Okay, and the reason I'm going to go in that is because so Kaiser White comes here on a 1-year deal, basically to set up his value. That's what he's coming here for.
But did he get a value? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, no, increases.
No, I don't think he increased his value. I don't think he's going to be in a 1 max 2-year deal wherever he goes next. But also when you're just looking at the level of play from Kaiser White, like it's so swing or miss. Like it's really up and down. And whenever Eagles were in a 5-man front with a 1 linebacker on the field, they had TJ Edwards on the field. Like they put him in some of the worst positions you could be in as a linebacker all throughout the season last season. And the level of play that TJ played with last season in that system, in a system that has 5 defensive linemen where none of them are reacting to any pullers, and that is the only 1 linebacker in there who has the responsibility of doing that, and they didn't get burned in the running game like for massive gains, that in itself speaks volume to how he played. And when we're looking back just 2 seasons when they were more of I don't know, 3 seasons when they were more in a 4-man front and they had 2 linebackers and 3 linebackers on the field more, he excelled in that as well. So he's been playing at a high level at no matter what kind of defense they've been putting out there. They signed him as an undrafted free agent. He extended with the team for 1 year. I think he really likes being in Philadelphia. I think he was an undrafted guy. Nobody wanted to touch anything with him. So I think for a team having taken the chance on him and him wanting to extend middle of the season on his final deal, final year of his rookie deal, when he could have signed anywhere else, he was still playing at a level high enough as to where he could go somewhere else on a multi-year deal that wouldn't be that high. But again, he chose to stay with the Eagles on a pretty cheap deal for 1 year. I think he likes it. I think the Eagles like him. They have so much. They had you don't just run a 5-1 front with one linebacker in there, and because you don't trust the linebacker, and they don't have anyone else. Nakobe Dean, who knows? He's a talented guy, but is that going to be the guy that you're going to be putting behind? Like we just said, a defensive interior that is kind of shitty.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think TJ was going to stay. I don't think he's going to be as expensive as those. I think he's projected is around 10, 12.
His market value right now is $11.9 million.
Yeah. So
this is spot rack, by the way. This is
how much?
$11.9 million.
Yeah,
that would pay him as the 25th highest paid linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he'd be back on a 2 or 3 year deal with 10 per.
Okay, that's interesting. I think a team's going to be enamored with him and pay him a lot. That's why I agree with everything.
He's going to have a lot of suitors.
I firmly believe that if they were going to pick one, they would T.J. Edwards is the way to go. I don't think they want to lock themselves into a long-term contract with a linebacker. So I don't feel like if T.J. Edwards wants a 3-year deal, I don't think they're going to pay him a 3-year deal. If it's a 2-year deal, like you said, and it's $10 million guaranteed per season, I'm fine with that. But I feel like he can get a 3 or 4 year deal somewhere. Teams if you're going to pay a linebacker, T.J. Edwards is the guy. He's not even 27 years old yet. Right now his spot rack market value is a 4-year contract of $47 million. I could see a team paying him that.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be the Eagles, but
he should take that. If he's going to be offered it, he should absolutely take it. I just don't know if he's actually gonna.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one guy on defense that I could see take a
discount,
a discount, simply because of the familiarity with the system, and how he's been rising up the ranks basically within the team.
Okay, free agent linebackers that are out there that the Eagles could potentially attack. Now there's a name on here that I really like. It's a little bit controversial. I think if the Eagles are going to find a stopgap linebacker, that's not like
Bobby Wagner.
I think the Eagles could take a shot at Bobby Wagner, and I think it's realistic. I'm not everyone thinks it would be crazy if Howie Roseman did this, and it's not a Howie Roseman move. I would not be shocked at all if they give Bobby Wagner a call, see how much money he wants. Him and Nakobe Dean would be such a perfect fit. It would be such a seamless transition for next year. It would be just learn from one of the great linebackers of all time, Nakobe, sit with him for a year. If the Eagles are willing, or if Bobby Wagner is willing, to go for $7, $8, $9 million in that range, I think Howie could bite.
Okay. I mean, he is one of the best linebackers in the NFL still. I mean, he proved still last season he's playing at that high level. So would be a seamless transition to a stopgap linebacker. I'm just saying. I don't think. I'm just gonna say. Well, this might be a little bit out of the water. I don't think Bobby Wagner could have done what T.J. Edwards did last year in a 5-1 front.
Okay.
I think
they
it's too slow.
Really ask Bobby Wagner to do a lot in Los Angeles like they did in Seattle. He didn't have as many responsibilities as he did.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I've got this feeling that if they're gonna take a swing at a veteran defensive player, it could be a linebacker, and it would be a big high name like a Bobby Wagner. Right. I think it would be a cool fit. I think it would be interesting. I don't know if it would be the right move, but it would have the name recognition. Yeah, and I think it would get fans excited. And
Eric Kendricks could also be a 1-year deal guy.
Yeah. I have Eric Kendricks here. I also have Cody Barton, who played for
the tackle machine.
Yeah, he played for Sean Desai in Seattle last year. I think that's another guy that they could take a look at.
What about Nicholas Morrow? Didn't he play with? Wasn't he with the Bears when?
I believe he was, yeah, with Sean Desai in Chicago.
Let me just double check that. No, he was Morrow was with the Raiders back then.
Okay. The linebacker free agency list is pretty weak, in my opinion. There's not a lot of guys I would take a bite at. This is a position that I also think they could try to draft someone in the later rounds and maybe could fill in right away. But we'll see.
Not a fan of the linebacker class.
No, I haven't dove into that yet.
Oh well.
Okay, last one on the defensive side of the ball that we're going to touch on is Brandon Graham. I am going to start this off and say stay. I don't think they should let him out the building. I think he can come back on a cheaper deal. His market value right now on Spotrac is 5.6 million. I think you could get a lot more out there than that, but I would be 100% fine with bringing Brandon Graham back on a 2-year, like $12 million contract.
Yeah, exactly. So finish your career here, 2 years. Let's do it.
He was so productive last year. There's no reason to let him go.
Nah, he's perfect in that rotation.
Exactly, yes. And that position ages well as well. Like, you don't need to worry really about too much at age at this point for Brandon Graham. I know he's almost 35 years old, but I still think he can play at a high level.
Yeah, and also, like, there are so many names out there on the edge market, but there's just really nobody that really makes you get excited for a rotation with Sweat and Reddick, and probably is going to be a rookie in there, or if a Chiron or what's his face who got some playing time last. He's not Garner Johnson, but Patrick Johnson, exactly. One of those guys is going to be rotating in there as well. There's just so many meh guys out there.
I don't think we're missing anyone on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I don't think we need to talk about Robert Quinn, Linval Joseph, they're not coming back. They're not coming back. Maybe Linval Joseph at some point, like maybe if they need like a defensive tackle later on in May or June, I could see it. I don't think Sue's coming back. And Robert Quinn, I don't think there's any chance he's coming back. Okay, offensive side of the ball. Let's start with Miles Sanders.
Go, please.
Well, Miles Sanders catches strays right at the gate on the offensive side.
There's no reason, especially because now Pollard, Barkley, and Jacobs have been tagged. So
how much money do you think he gets? How much money do you think Miles?
Not Sanders? A lot.
No.
No, okay. I don't think he's going to get a lot. I think the whole. I think teams are going to be looking at the Eagles' offense and how many weapons they have on offense and how much misdirection that goes into that offense, the offensive line. And then look at Miles Sanders, look at Kenny Gainwell, look at Boston Scott, and see that the drop-off between Miles and the rest is not really that big. And he's probably going to get paid a little bit somewhere, but to be honest, he's just not moving the needle for anybody, in my opinion. He's not a special runner. He's not a special receiver out the backfield. He's not a very good blocker.
Receiving. I want to talk about receiving for a sec with Miles Sanders. So I don't know what happened with Miles Sanders in the receiving game, but 2019, Miles Sanders had 509 receiving yards. He was great out of the backfield in 2019, like catching the ball. Remember that Dallas game? He made a couple big plays in Week 16. Yeah, he was huge down the stretch for the Eagles. Like, he was Carson Wentz's almost best weapon out of like receiving weapon during that like end of the year 2019 run. Since then, he has 433 yards combined out of the backfield in the next 3 seasons. I don't know what happened there. I think a lot of it had to do with the Eagles just didn't trust him on later downs. He's not a good pass blocker on late downs. That obviously has something to do with it. But his lack of ability,
his inability to make guys miss also just makes it like you can swing a pass out to him, he'll get nothing because he can't make anybody miss in the open field.
His just lack of ability to stay on the field on third downs with the Eagles is downfall here, in my opinion. And you know what? I would take Miles Sanders. I would draft Miles Sanders again in the second round. I thought it was a fine draft pick. I thought they got they got good value out of him. Like, in the end, you could probably go through that draft and find another second round pick that they probably could have taken there that would have worked out better. But I think the Miles Sanders draft pick is a good example of how you should use running backs in the NFL. Draft them in the mid rounds, get some good juice out of them early on in their career, and let them walk in free agency.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the running back market is awesome in free agency.
Love it.
This is my favorite position, and like I don't even know where to begin. I tweeted out this morning Rashad Penny. I had some pushback in the comments Some people are bringing up his injury history, which I 100% agree with. His history is a risk. He's now coming off a broken fibula this year. But man, when he's healthy, he's productive. He had 6.1 yards per carry, 6.2 yards per carry over the last 2 seasons. He was an animal at the end of the 2021 season. He's only 27 years old. He's a bigger back. I could definitely see the Eagles being interested in him. But there's so many other running backs I could also see Eagles being interested in. Is there one that kind of sticks out to you?
I mean, the list is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just
awesome.
from
I want the Eagles to get one of them. Like, I think they should be active in picking up. They don't have to pay a lot, too, because there's so many out there. Like,
all these guys could be plus contributions to the team. Like Samaje Perine, love how he ran in the rotation with the Bengals. Raheem Mostert, a guy that he was incredible when he was
former
with
Bird,
the
baby. Former Eagle.
and when he was with the 49ers, I mean, that 2020 season was phenomenal. Alexander Mattison, always just a guy who whenever he comes in, just brings some juice. Probably not the guy you want to be leaning on as a starter, but Eagles don't have.
He's not even 25 years old yet, Madison, either. He's only
that's crazy.
Yeah.
that is bonkers. Again, his 2020 season was also really good. Jerick McKinnon, Eagles have a lot of experience with him now. But the guy that stands out to me that I would really want to bring in from this entire list is Damian Harris.
Yeah, baby. Let's go. I was hoping so. Damian Harris, Donta Foreman, Rashad Penny are the 3 guys I would keep a very close eye on.
Right. I mean, Damian Harris has been one of my favorite running backs just from the way that he runs the football and in the past few years. And he's such a physical guy when it comes to pass protection as well. Like, he will be my much preferred. Like, he would move the needle for the Eagles offense.
Played with Devonta Smith at Alabama. They know each other. I'm sure you can make a lot of connections, but that's another one. I love
plus you could sign him and you could still draft a running back in the earlier.
I would sign one of these veteran running backs. I would draft a guy in the middle rounds, and then I would potentially maybe bring back Boston Scott. I think I got too much sentimental value for Boston Scott. I love a Boston Scott.
I would not be mad if they brought him back at all.
Yeah, and then you have Kenny Gainwell. That's 4 running backs right there. Let's see what they do with Trey Sermon. There's like not rumors, but there's words out there that they do like him still in the building.
Yeah, but they came from inside the bird, so let's keep.
Hey! No fighting words on this podcast. What about when we get to? Actually, no, I'll save that for Jason Kelsey later. But you think I know you probably know where I'm going with that one. Anyways, Darius Johnson, Damian Harris, Alexander Mattison, Rashad Penny, Samaje Perine, Donta Foreman are kind of those are the guys that I had listed on here.
That's also a lot of guys, though.
I know, like those are the dudes. Like they're gonna probably want a bigger back, right? A dude that's a little bit bigger in stature can hit the inside gaps on late downs. Those are the guys that come to mind. Darius Johnson looked great in Cleveland when he was a starter there. I don't think they're going to be on a Kareem Hunt or David Montgomery. I'm not big on those 2 guys for the Eagles. I'm not a big David Montgomery dude. I thought he was great. Looked great in his first couple of seasons, but I feel like just from the eye tests, he hasn't looked too. The speed's kind of wearing off. Don't think he's in play. But I think this is a position where if they can find one of these middle-age running backs in free agency that hits, I think this could be a nice boost to the offense. And I expect him to be active here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from rewatching the Super Bowl and kind of breaking that down is how much they needed a running back that could move the needle for the offense there because holy shit.
Oh my God, Miles Sanders' pass protection in the Super Bowl. Oh, that was one of my biggest takeaways too. I actually dug in some all 22 on the Super Bowl, and my God, no wonder they didn't trust him.
No,
no wonder. Anything else on the running backs?
No, I think we're pretty in sync of at least have 3-4 guys in there, bring in one guy, draft one more. I mean, have it as low of a budget as possible. Like you can really not pay anything and still have 4 really quality guys.
Okay, next we have 3 more positions to attack on the offense. Let's go to Isaiah Seumalo. His market value right now is $12.1 million.
He gone.
Hats off, sorry, to Isaiah Seumalo, man. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, go get paid, man.
He played awesome for the Eagles last year. Great right guard
job. Yeah,
6th ranked guard on PFF. But like you said, he gone. He ain't coming back.
He gone. Yeah, he deserves to get paid because he has not made the back with the Eagles as much as he should have, considering his level of play and how he always get talked about and enamored by teammates, coaches, and everybody that knows football.
I don't have any offensive linemen on my free agent document here because I don't think I don't think this is a position that they're gonna want to go sign some guys.
The only one guy that kind of like sneaky put in there, just I don't know what his market is going to be. I don't know what the relationships are, but Nate Herbig, keep an eye out.
Love a
Herbig. He's a free agent. Eagles need they could need some depth in the middle, but I mean we don't know where that whole thing stands after they released him, but we'll see.
I interviewed Nathan Shepard from the New York Jets. He was also a free agent, a pass rusher, and he said Nate Herbig was the funniest guy on the Jets last year. I know you like that. We didn't actually get into the pass rushers of the free agency. Why don't we circle back to that? Is there anyone that you think the Eagles could sign? Because we didn't do that with the Brandon Graham conversation.
No, it's simply just because I think they're going to bring back Brandon Graham, and then they won't really be tapping into the market too much. Other than that, I mean, there are some guys that are going to be looking for 1-year deals out there. Frank Clark is going to be one of them. Melvin Ingram is going to be one of them as well. I don't have any priorities of any of these guys. I just know Robert Quinn is not coming back.
There's a couple dudes I would keep an eye on if you're an Eagles fan.
So Darius Smith just got released. Speaking of pass rushers being available, wouldn't count against the compensatory pick.
Yeah, I got that right in my NFC North episode. I said that Darius Smith was going to be a cap casualty. And there we go, baby. Bless you, Thomas.
Thank you.
I would keep an eye out on Leonard Floyd. He's over the age of 30, but he's kind of fits the profile of a guy that Howie Roseman could like. He's also going to get released from the Los Angeles Rams. Besides that, like a couple of like veterans I wouldn't mind poking at. Matt Ioannidis, but he didn't play very well last year, in my opinion. If they want to like take a swing on a veteran, they could look at like a Justin Houston. Is he back in Baltimore though? I don't know if he re-signed in Baltimore or not.
Not sure.
I don't think they're gonna be in like the younger dude category like Yannick Ngakoue, Charles Omenihu, Arden Key. I don't think they're gonna touch any of those guys. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna be very active in the pass rush market, at least to start off the free agency. Like I think if there's veterans that they could want to tap into in the later weeks free agency, I think they could find a guy, but I wouldn't focus on him.
No, maybe one guy who could bring some versatility in terms of if they're going to be staying in that fight in the 3-4, having one of those 4-tech defensive tackles in there / defensive end, which they basically are in the 3-4, would be an Arden Key. He has positional versatility. He can move inside.
He's going to get a lot of dough, though. I think
he though.
He had a good year last year for Jacksonville. He's only 20. He's only 26 years old.
What's he going to be paid? 10 per?
Again, Spot Rack is slow for me today. Damn website. I don't have it exactly in front of me right now.
Nah, we'll see. But I mean, again, if we were talking about positional upgrades, he would be an upgrade. He'd have some versatility in that defensive front there.
But he only signed a 1-year, $4 million deal last year. I'm assuming like after that break year, he's going to want a long-term contract. His market value right now is at $11.3 million. So
okay. I could see him taking a 2-year, $20 million with around 12 guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move back over to the offense. We got 2 more positions here. What do you think about Zach Pascal? I'm going to put go here. I would like them to upgrade that position, especially the 4th wide receiver. Didn't see a lot from Zach Pascal this year. Don't think he brought a lot to the table. I guess you could say in some blocking stuff, but I didn't really want to go there. He had the penalty in the Super Bowl. He had a drop in the Super Bowl, I believe, as well. I did even drop in the Super Bowl. I know he had a penalty, that holding penalty that cost him. But I think like Zach Pascal, of course, Nick Sirianni likes him a lot, but I would look to upgrade that position.
Right. I think if they're going to be upgrading at a position in there, they would probably be looking to move Quez Watkins and get someone else in there. I guess
they upgrade the 4th wide receiver. I don't know if I worded that right. Like,
but I mean, I think they like Zach Pascal. He's been very serviceable. He hasn't made any like too big mistakes throughout the season. I mean, overall, pretty consistent backup when he's been in there. He's been moving the chains a lot in the RPO game. I think he is a guy that you could bring back for like very cheap and have a very serviceable guy in the room. So I'm leaning stay on Pascal, to be honest. But that could go both directions.
Are there any free agent wide receivers that catch your eye? This is a depleted free agent wide receiver.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't think the Eagles are going to be involved in it. I think there's a couple dudes I would keep an eye on. Paris Campbell is like a luxury, in my opinion. If they really want to take a swing at a third wide receiver, I could see them liking Paris Campbell. Nick Sirianni was there when they drafted him. I believe maybe it was the year after Sirianni, or year before Sirianni got there. But they have worked together. That is for sure. And he's still young. I believe he's only 26 years old, if I'm correct. He's 25, so he's not even 26 years old yet. But I think he's going to be a little out of their price range. But that's a dude I'd keep an eye on if they want to like really upgrade that third wide receiver position. I'm really curious to think. Like, I don't know what Howie Roseman thinks of Watkins. Like, I don't know what they think of the third wide receiver position right now. Like, do they need to upgrade? It's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of address it because I'm curious to see what they think.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to be. I think they're probably going to be leaning sentimental and kind of saying, I mean, had a couple mistakes here and there, yada, yada, not overreact to it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when it comes down to it, he was probably the biggest reason of 3 losses throughout the season. But, I mean, it's not a great free agent class if you're going to be looking to upgrade at any position. And you're going to be paying Devontae Smith soon. So that also kind of ties into a little bit. I mean, I guess they could probably sign Juju Smith-Schuster and just pay him in TikTok content, and like he could.
I was like, when you just said, I was like, what?
Like they could just say like, come here, we'll provide your content. TikTok can pay you the contract money. I mean, he's basically right now. It looks like he's gonna make his living off of TikTok. Anyway.
Imagine the phone call to AJ Brown from Howie. Hey, yo, do you mind if we bring in Juju? I don't think AJ will like that too much.
Nah, probably it would be. What about Nelson Aguilar?
Hey, you know what? Actually, no. You know, I've never been more torn on an NFL player in my life as an Eagle than Zach.
I don't think he wants to come back.
I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast before, but I'll tell it now. Do you remember week 2 of 2018? It was, I think it was week 2 or week 2 of 2019 against the Atlanta Falcons when Nelson Aguilar dropped the ball in the lights. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
I threw my phone against the wall and my phone broke. My phone screen broke.
Oh, no.
It was not one of the low lights as an Eagles fan. I've never punched a wall, never broke anything, and I've wanted to, trust me, as an Eagles fan. But that Nelson Aguilar drop a week 2 against the Falcons, I think it was 2019. Could be wrong. I don't know exactly what year it was. It was definitely 2019 because that was his drop year. He dropped the one against the Patriots as well. That was Aguilar's really rough season. But or was it 2020? Was Aguilar around?
Say Brendan's phone budget cannot cope with Aguilar coming back.
Yeah. Not my proudest moment, but I don't think I can handle Aguilar back with the Eagles. And that's where I'm kind of going with this. Love the guy. His Super Bowl contribution will always be appreciated, and he was an underrated Eagle in my opinion for that one season. But man, that guy caused me fits.
Yeah, he caused fits, but he never when it was time, when it was the Super Bowl, he made the plays. Who didn't? Of course, Watkins.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to find like a veteran, sure-handed receiver, just to bring into training camp. Robert Woods is one that sticks out to me. I think they could be in the market for him. I don't think they're going to be in the Odell Beckham sweepstakes.
The middle, let the Cowboys handle that.
Chosen Anderson, I don't think is coming here.
Man.
DeAndre Carter, Sammy Watkins, Jameson Crowder. I don't think they're going to be in any of those guys. Robert Woods kind of piques my interest for a sure-handed veteran to bring in. But I don't know if they bring in Robert Woods, it's not a guarantee he's going to make the roster, right? If they're going to bring in a veteran receiver, it's going to be that kind of middle to lower class dude that could potentially be cut if he doesn't work out in camp.
Exactly.
Okay, 2 more positions, right? One more position. I think this is an underrated topic for the offseason. Backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew. Let's start with Gardner Minshew. Is he coming back or is he going?
Nah, he gone.
I think he gone too. So I don't think there's anything much to say about Garner Minshew. I guess he was a fine backup last year. He played like shit against the Saints, and that was the worst Eagles game of the season. But I think he played okay against Dallas in that game. I think he played better than okay. The offense wasn't the reason they lost that game. But I think it's time but I think they're going to look for another backup quarterback. What would you do for the backup quarterback?
I would wait it out. I would not sign anybody in the free agency before we hit the draft and see if they can find a guy. Like I really do believe Eagles could spend a semi-premium draft pick in that 4th round pick or lower, even 3rd, if the guy if a guy they really like falls there. They actually have a quarterback who is mature enough to handle that kind of situation. So I don't think that wouldn't be any issues with that. Especially looking at that UCLA guy, definitely coming out in of the Chip Kelly offense. He's been a lot of read and react offenses, but still, like if you don't get anybody in the draft, like there are so many, like not so many, but there are pretty good options out there in free agency of quarterbacks who have the same ish kind of like more towards the athletic side of being a quarterback and being able to run the RPO and run read offense if Jalen Hurts was unable to play. Because Gardner Minshew, he couldn't do it. I mean, it was awkward watching him with his I mean, I don't know what I was watching.
So you say he couldn't pull the ball and get a 10-yard carry? That's basically where you're really going with it?
He tried, but he got he ran for his life and he got a yard.
Dorian, the guy, the UCLA quarterback, Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Exactly. DTR.
He looked pretty good at the combine, but
he looked good at the combine. Look at his tape. I mean, it's gonna you like him. I think it's gonna be rising up a little bit when come draft time.
He seems like a quarterback that I'm gonna fall in love with towards.
Oh yeah. But you will, but you watch him play at UCLA. You basically watch Jalen Hurts operate in an Eagles type offense. It's so much reading the quarterback reading what the defense is giving them.
So you think they're not going to sign a veteran?
Yeah. What I'm saying is, if they don't get a guy in the draft, there are guys like Marcus Mariota, Teddy Bridgewater, Jacoby Brissett, who I think could be coached up to run the same kind of offense that the Eagles have been running here. And Jacoby Brissett would be he's going to be a little bit more expensive. He did a good job with the Browns before I mean, he did better than Deshaun Watson did. A lot better, and like he's been fine. He has the connections to Nick Sirianni going back with the Colts. So I mean, he would make a ton of sense as the backup there.
I think he's just going to get paid too much money. Do you know
probably
Jacoby Brissett ranked 12th in EPA per play out of all quarterbacks?
That's crazy.
He was extremely efficient in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson ranked 32nd, by the way, just to throw that out there. But I think they're going to be out of the Jacoby Brissett sweepstakes. I think he's going to have a chance to start somewhere. I have 2 names here. You might not like them. Marcus Mariota is one. I don't love Mariota as a potential fit. Like I'm fine with it. I think he'd be a fine backup, but like
he lost games with the Falcons. Like he was the worst player on the Falcons offense.
I do think he could be an above average backup, maybe like a little higher than above average, like top 7 backup quarterback. But that's not saying something.
If he could go in as a backup and do what he did with the Raiders in that one game where he started for Derek Carr, holy shit, he played well that game.
One to keep an eye on is Sam Darnold.
Oh, God.
I don't mind a Sam Darnold. I think he'd be a fine reclamation project to bring him in. Reclamation project, I think is the right word for it. Yeah, like a guy that you could come in and like fix up. You know, he's still young. He's still really young I think, right? Like he is. Sam Darnold's only 25 years old still. I think he's better than kind of the fans and the media give him. So I think Sam Darnold's definitely a dude I would keep an eye on. I don't know if it's going to happen, but those are the 2 kind of backup quarterbacks that caught my eye. I don't know about Teddy Bridgewater. He's so injury prone. He's so feeble. I don't know. I don't think they can rely on him. There's not really a lot of other backup quarterbacks that kind of catch my eye, like Taylor Heineke, Jeff Driscoll, if they want to get in that market, but I think you're in the lower tier there.
Don't.
Yeah, so Sam Darnold and Marcus Mariota are the 2 guys that kind of caught my eye. I do think there's a very high chance that they do draft one in the 6th or 7th round.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think that's also why they're going to be waiting out the free agency period till after the draft.
All right, man, that was great. Fucking an hour and 3 minutes, baby. That was awesome.
Boom, nail free agency done.
Is there anything else? Should we close this up with maybe what we expect to happen over the next couple of weeks? How this is going to go? What are you thinking is going to the most likely outcome? How the Eagles team is going to look, I guess, in 2 weeks?
I think Jalen Hurts is going to be signed.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the big thing. Other than that, I don't think we're going to be hearing a lot other than former Eagle, one after the other being signed to other teams.
I have a funny feeling they're going to make some sort of trade for a veteran at a position like cornerback, maybe wide receiver. I don't know exactly where, and using those feature picks in next year's draft to acquire someone. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, but something to keep an eye on this offseason. Let's remember, A.J. Brown was not on the roster till the draft. CJ Garner Johnson was not on the roster till the draft. After the draft, James Bradberry was not on the roster till after the draft. So I know I did say 2 weeks here, but just as a whole in the offseason, I think Howie Roseman is going to be very active in the trade market because they, like we said at the beginning, they're going to have potentially 4 extra draft picks to work with next year. They also have the Saints' second-round draft pick in 2024. Hallelujah, New Orleans Saints. Thanks for that. So I think
Howie have nine draft picks next year within the first 4 rounds.
So like, why not use that ammo, right? Like, I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I don't know exactly the players. I haven't dove into that yet, but definitely just keep an eye on that over the next couple of weeks and the whole entire offseason.
So let's just say Sam Alu, Garner Johnson, Javon Hargrave, and James Bradberry. Those 4 guys could probably get you 2/3 and 2 4th-round picks, being a little bit pessimistic in comp picks.
And like, I still think they're going to sign a big name free agent. So I'm not like somewhat of a big ticket. Like the 2 guys I mentioned, Zach Allen, Byron Murphy, Cameron Sutton, someone like that, I think is a potential possibility. So they could also, like Miles Sanders. Did you say Miles Sanders?
No, I don't think he's going to make much more than what is going to be amounting to a 6th or 5th round comp pick.
Okay. Well,
but he's going to cancel out. Like, Eagles can sign somebody, they'll cancel out Miles Sanders.
Yeah. Yep. But like, I think Howie's going to be used. He's going to tap into that vault of draft picks for next year, and he's going to be
sure
that they're going to have to fill holes somewhere. You're not going to be able to fill all the holes in the draft and free agency. They're going to have to look at the trade market, and they did last year, right? Like CJ Garner Johnson and A.J. Brown were massive contributors for this team last year, and they were acquired by trade. So, but anyways, offseason is in full swing. Thomas and I will be back maybe some point next week.
I am going on a snowboarding holiday, so
hell yeah.
2 weeks probably.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Italy. Can I say?
Fuck yeah, the Gabagoo.
I'm going to be. There's probably not going to be any snow at this time, so I'm just going to be sitting there drinking red wine and cappuccinos.
Have you been to Italy before?
Oh yeah,
nice.
Multiple times. Love the place.
I've never been to.
Okay. But whenever there's a country who has a law for how much espresso can cost, I'm there.
All right, man. Well, enjoy your snowboarding trip. We'll be in touch, and we'll get you back. I have to talk to you when you get back. But make sure to like, subscribe, anything you can for the podcast. Really appreciate it. Make sure to check out sponsor BetterHelp. A couple more sponsors coming my way that I'm really looking forward to announcing over the next couple of weeks. But make sure, again, like, subscribe, anything you can do to help with the podcast. Make sure to tune into my episodes that I've been doing for the offseason Outlook series with all divisions. They've been really good. 2 more divisions coming your way after this episode. But we will talk to you later.